Okay. I think this will work.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Maybe.
If not, worst case scenario, we'll just have an audio version of it and can go from there. But welcome to episode 1 of the Backyard Nectar podcast. It's something that I've wanted to do for a very, very long time. I've held off on doing it for no apparent reason, other than it's just one more thing to do and to try and manage, but I'm really excited about it. My hope for the podcast is to have people on, share conversations about life, their process in going after their dreams and aspirations, content creation, whether it's career goals, whether it's fitness, life, motivation, whatever it is, just as that's kind of the goal and the vision behind it. And the name originated from, because I know that when we get viewers on the podcast, the question is going to come up, why the hell is it named Backyard Nectar? Back my first job out of high school, I did in-home care, and one of my clients watched this show on, I want to say it was either the History or Discovery Channel, called Diggers. And on Diggers, these guys would run around places with metal detectors, and whenever they would find something in the ground, they would just absolutely lose their fucking mind and yell, "Oh my God, I got nectar." And I just thought it was fucking hilarious. And then I was like, okay, well, it's kind of gold, like whatever they're finding. And then I was like, one of my favorite podcasts, as just about everybody else, is the Joe Rogan podcast. And it just sounds like two guys just sitting there bullshitting. And so my thought was like, if I could start a podcast that could kind of cover a wide range of things, whether it's just we're sitting here bullshitting or we're talking about life, it's just something that you're almost overhearing a conversation two guys would have in their backyard while they're grilling, barbecuing, just talking about life. And so Backyard Nectar, that's the name. That's how it's came to be. And now with the stream community, everybody that subscribes and supports the channels and stuff are part of Nectar Nation. So it's just kind of an overarching thing. But I'm super excited to have Chris on, FilthyMacGyver, as the first guest of the podcast. Good friend, also related through marriage. So love this guy. Chris is going to school for nursing. What was it that made you want to get into that field?
My grandma, she was a healthcare. She worked in hospitals and nursing homes, and then did in-home care towards the end of her career. So that was my driving inspiration.
Very cool.
She cared for my grandpa until he passed away a number of years ago. So just my inspiration, my drive to do what I do in healthcare.
That's very cool. That it's such a competitive industry to be in right now, like with nurses, especially post-COVID. Like there's a shortage, but it just seems to be a very desirable career for a lot of people. And I work at a hospital during my day job, IT, and so the healthcare industry is one that is the most needed, but I also think the most underappreciated. So I want to say thank you for everything that you do, because I know that you're taking care of and helping people when they don't feel their best, and you don't always get the appreciation that you deserve in those moments. So thank you for doing that and for pushing to go after that for your career and to try and help more people. That's just absolutely amazing.
Yeah, man. I mean, it's a rewarding job in the end. So there's really no thanks necessary, but I appreciate it. And hey, I appreciate the IT guys too.
It all makes the ship go around,
Yeah.
Like we've got housekeepers. Sure. Since I work swing shift, we've got housekeepers that come in and clean up the areas and stuff. And I always try and make sure to thank them, because one thing that ironically stuck with me. Normally, like the introduction stuff when you're starting a new job, nothing really sticks because it's all just like seems like they're trying to fill time with something, you know.
Mhm.
But the lady was saying that doctors and nurses, they get a lot of credit, as they should, but she was saying that two of the like positions or like subcategories of the hospital that don't get the credit that they deserve or like any recognition really is IT and housekeeping. And so I do my best. I don't know why that stuck with me. I guess just being in IT as long as I have, I know how like thankless of a position it can be where you're trying to fix everybody's stuff and like people come to you and they're angry and pissed off that nothing's working, and then when it's fixed you don't ever hear from them, so it's like you typically only get one side. So I try and do
Yeah,
my best to always make sure to thank housekeeping and the people around me, just because who doesn't want to feel appreciated, you know?
exactly, exactly. Everybody works hard. Everybody works hard. We all
Yeah.
work as a team. But yeah, no, it's a very rewarding job, and I enjoy doing it. And I've over the years I've gotten to learn a lot of cool things. So,
What
um,
going into the creator side of things, because
okay.
that's a big portion of what I want the podcast to be about right now, because I just feel like that's something that I'm going through, so it's a little bit easier for me to talk about. What was it that do you have a specific moment or memory that you were like, okay, this is something that I want to go after? Or is there like a specific time where you can think of like, man, holy shit, I
Yeah.
saw this and I really want to like start creating content now?
So I've always been into video games from the moment I can hold a controller. I remember the time. I remember the moment when my dad brought home a the original Nintendo,
Oh, cool.
and he put it on the big screen, big box screen TV, huge thing, and it was just it blew my mind. And so from that day on, I video games were a big part of my life. The creator side of it, I had some problem. I got COVID, and it affected my brain quite a bit, and my I couldn't drive for
Oh,
like
damn.
3 4 months. And during that time, I kind of jumped. I was watching a lot of YouTubers and stuff. I mean, that's where I'm at right now. I do a little bit of Twitch here and there, but YouTube's my main channel. So I'm watching a lot of YouTubers, and I'm kind of picking up things, and I'm like, well, I could do this. I play video games. I'm good at what I do. I have a particular game that I like to play, Destiny.
Big Destiny guy.
Yep. So I was like, screw it. I can't really do much else right now. I don't know, and it really helped my thought process and my brain kind of get back to normal. Kind of like a rehab.
Right.
It really made me think. I had to learn how to do the audio, how to do the video, how to do the everything all combined. So that's kind of where I was at on it. Yeah, it just helped me do some good rehab and get back to normal.
What was that experience like? I had no idea that you had caught COVID, and then also that it had affected your mind like that. I haven't heard that as like a side effect from people, and so that had to be just like a terrifying feeling, especially like I don't know how early on you caught it during the whole um
Actually, I caught it really towards because it was about last year, about this time. So it was
o-
really towards the end of the panic, which was crazy because I had worked in lockdown ICU unit during the whole thing, and I was in and out of rooms, wearing the N95s and everything,
yeah.
and in contact. And then when I actually got it, I was transitioning away from being on the floor and doing more like tech work. So it was kind of crazy that I actually caught it at that time. But it happens. It can happen to anybody. There's people that I know that have gotten it several times, and really didn't affect them at all. I guess I was watching I don't remember if it was a documentary, but they were talking about long COVID. So it affects people different ways, and it can affect people's like brains. And there was one guy on there that was like a marathon runner and went to like all the big marathons like Boston and stuff. And he couldn't do it anymore. He just completely had to like learn from the beginning how to do what he loved to do. Like it affected his brain that much.
That is so insane to think, because like that definitely wasn't any of the side effects, at least that I had heard. So I didn't even know that that was a potential thing. And that had to be just like absolutely horrifying to not only get this thing that you've seen working in the hospital, um, like the effects that it can have on people, but then you catch it and all of a sudden like it starts affecting your mind that way. That must have been quite a uncomfortable and scary time. And the fact that you were able to find content creation and use a lifelong love of yours with gaming to help kind of rehab yourself, like you said, is just absolutely incredible. And yet another reason why I love this art style and this form of media, which is gaming. It's not just people sitting behind a TV playing a video game. I mean, think about the friendships and the mental rehab you just said. There's so many positive things that come from it, and that's just
gaming and being able to hang around your buddies. That I have buddies that I have a guy I play with that lives in the UK. I have a guy that lives in Canada. I've got people that are in California, Texas, East Coast, New York, and we game together, and we sit here and we learn about each other, and we learn about family. um I don't want to bring I hate to like throw too many things to like bring the mood down, but we did have a gentleman pass away in our clan for Destiny that last year.
yeah.
And we actually ended up having like 20 of us online at the same time and had a memorial for him in game,
That that is amazing.
right?
That the friendships and bonds that you can make in this, um, one of my best friends is in New York. Never met him in real life. I've got another really good buddy in Arizona. Never met him in real life. Um, and there's others. Got another guy in California, one in Nashville, and it's like you just meet these people that you wouldn't meet otherwise, and then to be able to have, in a way, a service through the medium that brought you guys together is such an amazing thing to be able to do and to pull off. And with the voice actor of Zavala passing away, what was that, last week?
Yeah.
Seeing how many people did something very similar for him, just
Oh yeah. Yeah. Well, a couple of us got down there and
yeah.
yeah, that was tough. That was tough. They've said that they are voice lines because they've recorded voice lines. They've pretty much have the whole year of content like pretty much ready to go. They
Yeah.
said basically in his honor, they're gonna continue that story and have his voice lines in there in the
that
game.
that's really cool. That's an amazing way. And with technology, the way that if done right, you can continue to honor somebody and continue to keep them out there,
Exactly.
as long as it's done appropriately and done well. I mean, what a gift to the community, to their family members, to anybody who's partaken or just has been impacted by that person, to be able to keep them alive in a sense, not only through a video game, but even after they're physically gone, to still have content prepared to extend their life in a way. Like I said, if done properly, is really cool. What have you found to be the most difficult thing in your content creation journey? Like, could you narrow it down to one? Or, I mean, I know there's a huge learning gap when you're first starting, trying to learn audio, trying to manage that, trying to
Yeah. I mean, I
set
think
up
that's
OBS and get that going.
anything new that you're learning is going to have that. I mean, look, I learned when I was learning how to play bass, and in recording music too. It was the same thing. It was like you just got to learn the technology, you got to learn the instrument, you got to learn the tools. So no, that's I mean that's all coming together. I've got a few things I still need to work on and all that. I think it's finding what makes people come and watch you. Like, what is your thing? What is what it? So Destiny is my main thing. I do play some other games. I do have some other content on other games, but Destiny is the main reason, or the main source of my content. What out of Destiny do I want to do? I'm not the best Crucible guy in the world, PvP guy.
Yeah.
I'm not a speed runner. I don't do a raid in 20 minutes. So my content's not gonna reflect that. My content, I have come to narrow it down to being helping new players out, showing people how to do certain things in the game, helping them understand Destiny because yeah, as you've seen, I mean, you've been a
Yeah.
Destiny, you've played, but you're not consistent enough to know. You come back to the game, it's like, what is this? What is that? What is?
Right. It's a very, if you aren't in it or don't have somebody like Filthy MacGyver to help push you through and teach you things about the game, it's very difficult to come into it. Um, for like as a complete newbie or somebody like me, I'll buy the expansion, play the campaign, have no idea what to do post campaign, not pick up the game for 4 or 5 months, and then go, oh, Destiny sounds really fun. I'm way behind in light level, yet to do a raid. In general, I've yet to do a raid, whether that was Destiny 1 or Destiny 2.
Mm-hmm.
Get frustrated, stop playing the game, new expansion comes out. This is going to be the expansion that I uh, really dive head over heels into because I would love to love the game because of the continued storyline, the multiplayer aspects, the PvE, PvP. Like, there's so much that I know once I got into it, I could find myself like you just loving and playing the shit out of the game.
Yeah.
But there's such like that barrier to entry that I love that you're focusing your content on trying to help people get through that because I mean, just your passion for the game really shows. And so the fact that that's where you're going and trying to share that passion and help other people also find that within it is really cool.
Yeah, Destiny I've seen it myself. I started a new account and started from the beginning, um, square one on a new character, and it's not easy for a new player. I was lost myself, and I played the game for it's the game Destiny 1 and Destiny 2 combined have been out for almost a decade,
Right.
and I got in there and I'm like, what do I do now? you know,
And
um,
for you being somebody that's played the game for basically that whole time, if not that whole time, for even you to realize like coming in as a new account or somebody who doesn't have weapons and gear and like, okay, what do I do? What would be something that if you were all of a sudden tomorrow put in charge of like development that you would do to try and ease that? Or do you think that it's just one of those things that's like part of the game and you just kind of have to like grind through it until you figure it out?
um, I think at this point, one side of me wants to say they're just going to have to make a Destiny 3 or a Destiny universe and just completely restart the story or combine the two games together because there's so many things from the original game that they're trying to combine into the sequel that I feel like they're just going to have to make one combined entity and figure out how to introduce people into the game. There's so many stories that are gone. Pick up a copy of Destiny 2 right now, like a base copy from 2017 is when it came out. Look at the back of that and tell me it's the same game that you're going to start up right now. It's not. the whole the first 3, 4 DLCs are gone.
Right.
So that's what makes it confusing. You log into the game, it basically gives you this watered down version of the original Destiny 1 quest or the intro mission.
Yeah.
It introduces you to some random guardian that nobody really cares about, and it throws you in and you get an exotic weapon out of it. And then you're like, what do I do now?
Right.
And then there's pop up like buy this DLC, Beyond Light, Lightfall, Witch Queen. Where do you start? You know?
Right. And as somebody that's new, it's like, okay, well, ideally you want the newest the newest DLC because it's the newest content, but then how much of the old DLC do you actually need in order to properly progress your character? Because aren't there strikes and pinnacles and stuff on certain
There's
planets
certain
that are only accessible if you have certain DLC, or is that wrong?
Yes, there are certain and there yes, there are certain DLCs that you have to have. You have to have Beyond Light to have stasis, which is a subclass for the characters.
Right.
You have to have it, or else you don't get to have those abilities. You have to have Shadowkeep to unlock certain things on the moon and certain dungeons and the raid. You have to have Lightfall to unlock all the new stuff. You have to have Witch Queen to unlock certain dungeons and raids, and then they were selling the Forsaken, which was a DLC that I actually vaulted. They put into the Destiny content vault, which means it's gone, it's out of the game. Um, they're actually combining that stuff that's not even in the game anymore with the 30th anniversary pack, which came out. Oh, it's almost about a year and a half ago.
Yeah, I was gonna say that was
Which it gives you access to Dares of Eternity, the Grasp of Avarice dungeon, and a bunch of other stuff. It was the 30th anniversary Bungie pack, and they give you you got to earn Galahorn, which is like an extremely popular rocket launcher from D1. That's pretty powerful, you know. But in
yeah.
order to get that, you have to buy that pack.
Right. Or does any of that carry over? For example, like I guess we've been talking about new players, but if you had Galahorn in the original Destiny, does that carry over or no?
No, no,
Ugh,
it doesn't.
rough.
Yeah, it doesn't. It doesn't matter what you bought in D1. It's the most frustrating part of the game. You could have bought everything in D1 and it doesn't matter. You could buy all the I actually and I'll tell you, so there's a bug in the game, especially for Xbox, where it tells you that you're disconnected from the network and it'll black screen your game. You actually have to go in and remove the Warmind DLC, the Curse of Osiris DLC, and the Forsaken pack, and the game will run it smooth. You actually have to delete stuff out of everything that you've downloaded from the game and bought in order for the game to run smooth.
What?
Yeah, that is my biggest frustration with the game, and I don't want to dog on the game for everybody that is listening. It's a
Right.
great game and a great story and the gameplay is the gunplay, the movement is mm, above anything that you've seen in most games. It's just amazing.
Bungie does do a fantastic job. Like it every time I hop into Destiny, I definitely have it feels its own, but you definitely feel the roots of the original Halo games.
Yeah, you do.
And I love that, being Halo's my favorite franchise of games ever. I'm very sad as to like the direction Halo's going, and I kind of want Bungie to take it over again, to try and save it. But that could be a completely different conversation. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, you definitely do get those like Halo roots with a more modern feel with the different guns and uh, guardians and the different abilities and all that. What
Yeah, I mean, you have. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, you go.
I was going to say you have 3 different characters with 3 different movement styles, and those characters each now have what three,
Or five subclasses?
five subclasses. Yeah, Strand is the new one, so all that combined, I mean, you've got so many different movements and gameplay. With Strand, you can grapple now in Destiny. I'm like, that's amazing.
Right.
It's I've recorded some stuff with just doing some silly like grapple. With the hunter, you can grapple, and then you can dive down on the enemies, and then do like this swan dive thing, and it suspends them in air. Like it's nuts.
I've
It's
seen
crazy.
gameplay like clips, your stuff, you know, and of the new Stasis class, and it looks like a ton of fun. Um, One thing that I love about Destiny that I also like, I love it, but I don't understand it just because I haven't played the game a lot, is the different builds. Coming from a World of Warcraft kind of background, played the way too much World of Warcraft back in the day.
Hmm.
One of my favorite things about the game before they messed up the talent trees was I had a feral druid, and I would look online at different guides and stuff to see like how to pull more DPS and just to like make sure that I was doing stuff right. And I spec'd my character differently before I started looking up these guides, and would do like DPS tests to see how much damage I was doing. And
Yeah.
I was pulling more damage than the guides. And I loved
Yeah.
the ability to customize your character in a way that it really feels true. And I think that that's one thing with Destiny that I haven't taken the time to do, so I don't really feel a connection or like an independence from one character to another.
Yeah.
I've played them all like just a basic first person shooter with like an ability, rather than like, okay, how do I want to build my character? Like, do I want a hunter that can go invisible and can play a little bit more stealthy around things? Do I want a titan that just is going to run into everything and shield bash them, or whatever the abilities may be? Like, I haven't taken a lot of time to make my guardian me in that sense, and I feel like that's one of the things that's hindered me from playing the game more, is just feeling like so overwhelmed with all the different terminology in game, and
Hmm.
consistently being behind in light level, to where I'm like, okay, I can't even focus about making my character what I want. I got to try and catch up. And
Well, the
then,
the one thing they made, they are working on now, and they made better with Lightfall, is that you aren't going to have to worry so much about the power level once you finish the campaign. On Legend, you have to do Legend, or else it takes a little bit longer to level up. But if you finish the campaign on Legend, you're basically there. You just have to do a little bit of power grind to get up to 1800, which is the the power cap. So, and then the pinnacle, which means you're doing like in-game stuff, dungeons, raids, all that, is
right.
1810. On top of that, you have the artifact, which gives you like a bonus power up each season. Um, basically, you just have to get up to 1820. Anything over that, you're not effective. No extra power beyond 1820 it doesn't matter. You're always going to be under level in certain content, anyways.
Yeah, just to
Which
have the
is
challenge there, rather than
Yeah,
going in 1820 and then like the difficulty is like 1500 and you just steamroll everything.
yeah, which is great because I love that challenge. I just did a Master Nightfall. I did two of them yesterday, actually, with the new Strand subclass, not knowing if it was going to be effective or not in that high end of content.
Yeah.
And we went in and just rocked it. It was fun. Like you get sniped by one thing, you're dead. I mean, that's how crazy it is.
Wow.
Yeah, but it's
Game
fun.
games like Destiny, I feel like, have a very difficult time, and I don't know from a developer side how you would really change it to where there's a fine balance between the enemies feeling strong and also not like major bullet sponges, because I've heard some people have that complaint where it's just like
Yes.
you've got six guardians all dumping, you know, 15 rockets into this guy's face, and he like doesn't even have a quarter of his health down, and it's like, okay,
Yeah, and that's a
like
major
the
issue.
bullet sponge thing definitely I can see as like a turnoff to like some people who play the game. But at the same time, like if everything was so easy where it was like a one shot kill, the
Hmm.
bosses wouldn't have any intimidation factor. So playing that balance, right, has got to be something that from a developer side would be very difficult, because you don't want things too easy, because then it's boring, but you also don't want to make it feel like your weapons or that you spent all this time grinding for are now significantly underpowered, and it's like, okay, I could have just used like the base like assault rifle that you get in the new light quest. Like,
Yeah, exactly. You spend all this time doing these dungeons and raids, and even because they have the crafting system now, and you level these weapons up, and you get enhanced perks, and these enhanced perks do either extra damage or give you extra handling, um, depending on what the ability is. So you spend all this time, and it's a good amount of grinding to get these weapons and materials and stuff all together to get these weapons like masterworked or enhanced or whatever route you're going.
yeah,
Um, and then yeah, you come across the so so with Lightfall and the new destination Neptune, or Neomoon is the city. They made everything super difficult, and it feels that. And even on like a regular patrol free roam, it takes forever to take even like a red bar, which is a rank and file enemy, like down. Like it
yeah.
takes forever. So that's where you're saying, why don't I just bring a regular auto rifle I got through the new light quest in, rather than grinding all this other stuff? But there is a fix. They just released a hot fix. So they said that they did take down some of the difficulty a little bit because of the community complaints and stuff. So I haven't tested that out. I haven't logged in yet after they're out doing maintenance right now as we speak. But yeah, they are working on just some of the free roam and patrol stuff, like making enemies not so tanky and spongy.
That's cool. The fact that they listen to community feedback, and the fact that the
Yeah.
game's been around as long as it has, definitely shows that they have listened to community feedback.
Hmm.
Which kind of brings me into my next question, which, not just specifically with Destiny, but do you feel like games, I hear so many people complain that games are released not finished now, and I
Yeah.
wonder if people automatically associate a game having DLC as it's not finished. And I shoot myself in the foot with this, because I'm the first to admit I basically only play first person shooters. So I miss out on games like Elden Ring. Elden Ring's one that I've heard multiple people say this is the first game in a long time that released complete.
Yeah.
I haven't played it. I don't know. I don't. So I shoot myself in the foot here a lot, and I can totally see that. But as somebody who probably plays more games than I do, what are your thoughts on that? Do you think that because DLC is a thing that we can do now, that people assume games are released not finished? Like, would your perspective on Ocarina of Time be different if, for example, it had DLC? Like, would you think that that game was released not finished because it had DLC? Or do you think that just as gamers, like, we've come to expect so much because everything for a while advanced at such a fast rate that now that, I mean, there hasn't been a huge innovation of games short of like battle royales in the last like decade.
Yeah. I think video games like Ocarina of Time and all that are ways of the past. I think now live service, DLCs, seasons, battle passes, whatever you want to call it. I think Destiny does this, Call of Duty does this. I think generally every game now
Yeah,
does this. There
Fortnite,
are
Apex, they've all got battle
yeah.
passes for other content.
I don't think those style of games are unfinished when they come out, or the DLCs are unfinished. I think they're rushed. I think Lightfall for Destiny was rushed. I think they had to put something out. Sony bought them. They were probably forced to put something out. They could have took another month or two and fine tuned it. I will tell you. Well, I'll tell you this, and then we can talk about a different game. But as far as Destiny goes, I believe, and I think there's a lot of talk about it, that Lightfall was supposed to be the final saga or end of the saga for the light and dark, portion of Destiny 2. This
Yeah.
last 10 years, it was supposed to be like their end game. I think Sony made them split it, and I think because now they have Final Shape, which is the next DLC. Then that's supposed to be the end. So I think they split it, and I think they made Lightfall in a rush to
Or they cut a
introduce.
bunch out.
They cut a bunch out. They made it just to introduce Strand, um, which originally Strand was supposed to come out in Witch Queen, which personally for me that would have been amazing because that DLC was probably one of the best in years.
Yeah,
So
that campaign, and I haven't played the Lightfall campaign, but the Witch Queen campaign was one of the best campaigns, regardless of games, that I've played in a long time.
yes, and that's and it shows. I mean, it was popular for a lot of people. Lightfall has gotten a bad rap. The story isn't concise and clear, but I think what they're doing is they're releasing bits and pieces throughout the year to keep people playing, which that's a live service game.
Yeah.
That is what we're in. That's why it doesn't feel. That's why it may not feel finished, because I think that's people got to look at the entire year as the DLC, just the 3 months or whatever at the beginning.
Right. Yeah, I definitely see live service games being the direction that things go for the foreseeable future, just with the technology of being able to release DLCs. I think it makes the border to entry for games cheaper, because games like, I mean, Apex, for example, is a free game, but how many millions of dollars or upwards into the B's do they make because of new maps, new legends, new skins, new heirlooms,
Exactly.
all of this, right? And it's like, why not? Like, who doesn't want more content for their favorite game?
Exactly. I mean, you guys, Apex you can buy skins, ornaments, whatever you want to call it. Same with Destiny. You got Eververse. Look how much money I'm sure.
Oh yeah,
I've spent money. I mean, I've spent money in the store.
I've spent a ridiculous amount of money on Apex, and it's a free game. And I've got a friend who spent a couple $1,000s on the game just because he loves it so much. And it's like, if amazing, like the fact that we've got the ability to feel as though, if you look at it the right way, that you buying and supporting this game allows for more content to come out. Because, I mean, if nobody's playing the game, then the game dies, right? So people want to complain about DLC a lot, but it's like, you have to have a happy balance of releasing DLC to keep people interested in the game, because games that don't produce any content die.
Yeah. And the one big topic that a lot of people talk about when it comes to continuously playing the game, as far as Destiny, and I'm sure this is even with Apex and stuff, is fear of missing out. You're gonna miss out on that season's like top weapon or that armor set or that skin, and your fear is you're not gonna see it again. You're gonna see other people running around with this cool thing. And you're like, how did you get that? I skipped that season, or I took a year off.
Right.
That is how they keep drawing people back in. Which, I mean, smart on a business side of things, I can't blame them.
I mean, it's the exclusive. It works that way with just about everything. I mean, you look at from video games, skins and stuff only being available for a certain time. You go to the car business, and limited time financing of 0% interest if you qualify, and like, you look at all these things, and it's exclusivity brings a rush, and that rush increases the demand on the product and makes it more valuable. And so from a business standpoint, it's definitely makes sense, and I get why they do it. And I don't know. Last question regarding Destiny, unless it just like kind of naturally flows back there, but you said that you feel like they split this last campaign up and they're coming towards the end. How would you what would an end to Destiny, like an actual, okay, the game's end, it's done, it's finished, what would a successful finish of the game look like to you?
Oh, that is a that's a tall order, sir.
I know.
There's a lot
It's
of
a,
loose
it's
ends
a, it's a
to
loaded
wrap up.
question, huh?
So my ultimate end to this saga, this game, I want all the big questions answered, and we don't have to sit here. We could talk for hours about all the backstories and all the characters and all this. I just want all the big stuff taken care of. I want all the loose ends. I want some kind of tribute to Zavala, Lance Reddick. I want some big send off for him. Um, I want to find out more about the witness, which is the big baddie at the end.
Yep.
Um, I want this thing. I want this thing to go out with the bang, and then let the game sit. Just let the game sit. Don't do any. Do like some minor updates if you have to, just to keep the game running, and just let it ride out. And then if they later on want to come out with a Destiny universe or Destiny 3 and have like some brand new characters and take some time to like develop a new storyline, that's fine. But let this game ride out and let us start all over again. That's the only way I feel like we're gonna have new players. We're gonna have to come up with some new story, new plot, new just start from the beginning. So just go out with a bang, keep the game alive for a little bit, keep the servers on, update it
Right.
if you
But
have to. Like they did that with they're doing that with D1 right now. They do updates with it all the time.
really,
Let it, yeah, they still do. Then there's tons of people in the game still.
I had no
You log
idea.
in right, yeah, you log in right now and go to the tower. There's tons of people there still, and there's tons of people that still play Crucible and do strikes and do nightfalls.
Wow.
I you go up to LFG right now and you can find groups looking for players to do
Wow.
raids. Yeah.
I had no idea. I thought that as soon as Destiny 2 came out, everybody just like
Nope.
dropped.
I think Destiny 1 has that certain appeal and that's it's a little grittier, a little darker, a little more difficult
Yeah.
than Destiny 2 started out as. I mean, Destiny 2 is kind of getting to that point where they're starting to come back to their roots. And get some of that difficulty back and some of that grit and oh crap, we're not going to make it out of this one, you know, that kind of feel.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, that definitely, I mean, I vaguely remember playing some of like the Taken King expansion and seeing some stuff on that, and the feel of like, oh my god, can they actually like beat this guy?
mm-hmm.
That type of feel. And now with the Witness, I mean, it seems very similar in the fact of like, how the fuck are they going to make that work?
Yeah, and that I think that was a big disappointment for Lightfall is because they talked up the witness so much. Then all of a sudden, like he just is kind of. I don't want to give a spoiler for anybody that hasn't finished the campaign, but we're just kind of in a lull. We're just kind of like, okay, we're waiting.
Right.
That's where we're at right now, and then we're waiting for the next, and that's where I think the seasons will drive the story, because next season is Season of the Deep, which we don't know much about right at this point, but we've speculated that we're going to probably start going back to planets that have been vaulted or the darkness has taken over, because there were several planets that got booted from the game because the story was the darkness took over that section of the solar system and those planets like disappeared. So I think that's what they're going to do is they're going to bring back those planets. They're going to be like terraformed or turned into like darkness planets or something different, and they're going to change them somehow.
Yeah.
Not
And
sure
then
exactly.
a way to come back in and try and like cleanse it out maybe would be a
Yeah, yeah. That's kind of
cool
seems
path.
that kind of seems for the especially for like Season of Defiance, which is the current season we're in for Lightfall. That's kind of how what the plot is. We're basically cleansing out like the Taken, which are the one of the enemy types. We're cleansing out the Taken and the Shadow Cabal all these enemies from, and they're trying to capture prisoners, and we're trying to get those prisoners back. So that's kind of the theme, is cleansing out the darkness. So I think that's kind of what we're going to end up doing. We're going to go around, we're going to clean up all the darkness, and then all of a sudden, final shape, witnesses come down and slap us upside the head. I don't know.
Yeah.
So,
I think I've got just a couple more questions, and then definitely open it up for you to ask any yourself. But what would you say, or what would be a piece of advice you would give to somebody who's like, I want to start content creating because like I feel like I have a calling towards it, or it's just something I've always wanted to do, but I either don't know where to start, I'm afraid to start. Like what would you say to that person if they were to sit across from you and say like, this is what I want to do, but I don't know, or I'm too afraid to start?
Research. YouTube has a lot of good resources. Ask a friend. I certainly did. Thanks, Mr. Trent.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
That was, you have been a major help in this journey. So just ask questions. Don't be afraid. Yeah, it's going to be a little rocky at the start. You're going to look at your channel or your people watching your videos. You're going to have like one person or nobody. You're going to be sitting there playing the game and live and all this, and you're going to have nobody watching you, and you're going to be like, am I failing? No, you're just getting started out. And then all of a sudden you got 20, you got 30, you got, whatever, thousands. I don't know. I'm not there yet myself, but that's how it goes, I imagine.
Yeah.
You just build up.
One thing with that view count is a lot of people see these big streamers, Nick Merckx, Clyde for Destiny. You see all these guys, right, that have got hundreds to thousands of viewers, and everybody wants that, obviously, which, like, if you're getting into it, your goal should be to catch as many eyes as possible that align with your content and your community and like what it is that you're wanting to build. But when you get so caught up in the viewer count, try and imagine like when you get to the point to where you're having 30 people, that's a classroom. If you can entertain that many people by yourself playing a video game, like that's a lot. I mean, think about going over to your friend's house and sitting there watching them play a game and be so thoroughly entertained that you stay around and like want to continue to support them. It's a very difficult thing to do, which is why like it's hard, but you just got to keep going. Like you said, it's not failing. You're just starting out, and you've got to build a name for yourself and figure out, okay, what do I want my content to look like? How do I want it to flow? What's my ideal community look like? What is my vision? Okay, how am I going to put out my content? Is it going to look a certain way in comparison to other people's? Like, there's so much to it, which is where your answer of research and don't be afraid to ask questions is so big. I feel like the vast majority of people, you have to be able to do it in the right way, because you don't want to go into another streamer's chat and be like, hey, how do I grow? Because you don't want to sound like you're self-promoting, which is something don't do.
Yeah, don't do.
unless you know that person in real life and have talked to them about it and like gotten clarity that like, okay, for you, I'll allow it. But then that even gets touchy because you don't want other people starting to do it. So try and make it as much like private as possible, because you don't want that self-promo starting to spread. But research things, that's a great answer.
Yeah, I mean that's just looking up and just taking one little like the audio. Just take one piece at a time. Learning what the equipment too, like learning what you need. Don't just go out and buy a bunch of random stuff. Like actually look up and research what is going to work with what you have, or what setup you truly want. I mean, I did that too. I was just like, oh, I'll buy this, I'll buy that, I'll buy that. And some of it didn't work and some of it did. And then I'm like, well, I should have just taken more time to research and figured out exactly what was going to work instead of just buying random bits and pieces.
Right.
Mhm.
Um, I think I'm on my last question,
Okay.
but we're 3 months, almost 4 months into 2023.
Hmm.
By the end of the year, what is a goal that you want to accomplish? And how can I help?
Are we talking content creating? Or are we talking
Anything. Just life in
anything?
general.
Myself have a number of goals. Content creating. I just want to continue to grow. I want my all the audio and video and stuff aside. I mean that's coming together. I just want to figure out what my brand is, what I want my community to look like, as you mentioned. What I want to do to help new players of this game or any game, because there's also honestly, I played not to get off subject, but I played the Diablo 4 beta. Amazing.
Yeah, I'm really excited for that. That may be a game that
Yeah.
I play and push more content out towards because I played the other Diablo games, but I never like played them through. And the fact
Same.
that
Yeah.
the new one's coming out, I know it's going to be cooperative to where you can play with people.
Yep.
I'm excited for it.
Yeah, I played Diablo 3 quite a bit because I had it because it came out on console. And I was on PlayStation at the time. I played it quite a bit with some buddies, and it was amazing. I didn't really dabbled a little bit in 2 on PC, but I didn't really play through it. This one, oh man, it's pretty good, and it was just beta, and it ran smooth. Like it
Yeah.
was. I mean, yeah, there was a little wait time to get in, but it was hardly nothing like compared to other beta launches. So that's definitely something I would like to. I want to test out other games. I don't want to stick with just. I love the Destiny universe, but I need to branch out and do other games. I want to play other games. I don't want to be just a one trick pony, you know.
Right.
So
And
I think that would be the goal for me.
that's such a thing that you can tie yourself into that kind of like scarcity mindset of, well, I make content on this game and if I switch then nobody like is going to watch, which
Hmm.
may be true for a while, but if you aren't being true to yourself and like what you feel like you need to be doing, especially when you're starting out, like I think you're only hurting yourself, whether that's trying different forms of content within the same game, whether that's switching games, whether that's trying, okay, am I going to be a skit guy? Am I going to be a tips and tricks guy? Am I going to be a commentary guy? Am I going to be like whatever it is? Not being so afraid because you've seen a little bit of success in a particular game or title that you don't
Hmm.
try something new.
Exactly. I definitely want to branch out and try those different avenues, different ways of content creating. Because yeah, it would be nice to do some podcast stuff like we're doing now, or commentary stuff, or how to, or uh, I don't want to lock myself into one thing, and I don't want to be afraid to do. Yeah, I'm not the best at like say Call of Duty or even like Crucible and Destiny, but I'm not going to be afraid to go on there and challenge myself. Like right now, I'm working on trying to climb up the competitive ladder in Destiny and PvP.
Yeah.
It's sweaty as hell. I'm I'm not 15 years old anymore. I don't have the reflexes, but
Yeah.
I do know the game and I know the guns and I know the abilities. So I can take what I do in like a grandmaster or a raid and translate that into knowing, taking my time and having patience and studying the maps and learning
Yeah.
um, to be somewhat successful. So that's been a challenge that I put on myself in game, and I've been putting some content as far as like PvP stuff out. Um, but yeah, I'd like to grow there because I'd like to be able to tell people I don't have enough knowledge of PvP to be like this is how you do this or this is what weapons you use. So for now, I'm
Right.
just kind of dabbling in it and see what happens.
Awesome. Do you have anything for me?
Um, yeah. What? I don't know if we've. What got you into content creating? I mean, we've talked about me the whole time.
Um, for me, gaming has always been that thing for me. One of my fondest childhood memories that I look back on all the time is um, my best friend since we were like 4 years old had gotten an Xbox for Christmas, and he got Halo. And I
Hmm.
went over to his house, and his dad called my dad and was like, "Hey, they want to play this rated M game. Are you okay with it?" My dad was like, "I don't care." Right? We hopped on and played Halo. And I remember looking to him while we're drinking Nesquik chocolate milk saying, "Dude, graphics will never get better than this." And like that game specifically, I enjoyed gaming before. I really, really loved it. I had um, my grandpa had like a Super Nintendo that I would go over to their place occasionally and play. And then I remember getting like Nintendo 64 games and playing those. And I just like it's always been something I loved. But the real um, turning point for me where I realized like, oh my God, you can make money doing this was I had just started to watch competitive Call of Duty because I really liked Call of Duty at the time. Um, and I was watching Nadeshot, and watching Nadeshot transform from being a competitive Call of Duty player to creating content on 6050 Russell Drive, like from watching that kind of blossom and then him turn it into 100 Thieves, like owning the esports organization to energy drinks, like I just saw so much potential opportunity doing something that you love. And that doesn't mean that it's not going to be difficult and that there isn't going to be challenges, but seeing that plus the idea, like I've always had it in my head that I just never felt in the right place when it comes to school or the more like traditional path. I just never felt like I was in the right place. And every time I hop on games and every time I stream and every time I do something creative, that's where I feel like, okay, like this is where I belong. So that's really why I got into this. And I just remember watching his live streams back in the day, Nade Shots, and just feeling like so many people are coming in here watching him play a game, but then you read the chat and you see people saying like, I was having a shitty day until I came in here. And being able to have an impact on somebody you don't know by doing something that you love, to me was just like, I got to do this.
It's amazing. It's amazing. It's got to be a good feeling. Yeah, it's enjoyable to create that content, have people like watch and even comment back. I mean,
Yeah.
um, it's just or ask like, how did you do that? Like, and you just have that conversation back and forth with a person you don't even know.
R-
It's awesome.
right. And to have such a, the other thing is like gaming is such a, like an easy medium to find a common ground. Like when you're playing games with somebody, video games, sports, and music are like the only things left I feel like that we have where nothing else matters.
Hmm.
You go to a sporting event, right, and your favorite team scores a touchdown or whatever. You don't know the guy sitting behind you and to the right, but you turn around and give him a high five,
Yeah.
right? And
Yep.
so much of society is now one side or the other, who you voted for, what your beliefs are about XYZ, name it, and there's so much like division in a way. And with gaming, I feel like gaming, sports, music are the things that like I said, that just really bring people together. Yes, there are toxic people in the gaming community. Yes, there are people who say and do ridiculous things, but
True.
in general, I feel like it just gives people such a different thing to connect through, and I just love that about it.
Yeah. Yeah. One experience I had just the other day. I ended up reaching out. We needed somebody to finish like a Nightfall, one of the things in Master Nightfall in Destiny. And I was so scared about doing this whole LFG thing. Um, but I ended up reaching out. There's I'm part of Hive Social community, and
Yeah.
it's just a community of gamers. And uh, I reached out and I was like, "Hey, they have a Destiny channel on their server," and I said, "Hey, I need one more person. I didn't have any of my other buddies online. The two of us couldn't get it done by ourselves." And this one guy's like, "Yeah, give me 20 minutes. I'm just eating dinner and we'll hop on." And we got it done and we had a good time and we talked and we even talked a little bit after the thing was over and it was enjoyable and I added a new friend to my list. So don't be afraid to reach out and ask for help and meet new people. That's probably my biggest takeaway from that example.
Yeah.
Um, um, uh, Another question for you.
Yeah.
Apex. What got you started on that?
Um, I remember sitting at work one day and seeing an announcement that the makers of Titanfall were releasing a battle royale tomorrow. There was no hype leading up to the game. There wasn't like, oh, we know that this is something that's in development. It was just like, boom, there's a new game coming out tomorrow. Downloaded it, played it for a little while. At first, honestly, wasn't a big fan because of how difficult the game is. I was really, really bad. And I was like, I don't know. And then for some reason, something about the aesthetic of the game, the play, like how it feels, how the guns feel, every gun feels unique. The characters feel unique. The maps, just something about it kept pulling me back. And ultimately, it's just I feel like I've kind of hit my what I'm willing to give. Like I feel like I've hit my peak in certain games where Halo, I know I can hop on if I play Halo. I can be in the Onyx, which is the top player base in Halo, but it's just like it isn't there for me anymore. Like I just don't really want to do it. I don't really want to compete in Call of Duty anymore. I tried to do that for a while. It just like didn't like it.
That's rough.
But something about Apex, I don't feel like I've hit my peak as to where I can be at yet, and that just keeps pulling me back to the game. I study it and obsess over this game like no game I've ever studied before. Like I wake up, I think about it, which is kind of sad, but like it is. I'm addicted. I wake
Dude,
up,
I do the
think about
same.
it, play it. While I'm playing, I try and analyze, like, okay, this is what I did wrong here. This is what I could have done here. I should have done this. Like, if I had this character, this would have played different. Like, so I'm
Mhm.
constantly thinking, and just there's so many different possible outcomes because of the RNG that comes with battle royales that I'm addicted. I love it. I love the gameplay. It's incredibly frustrating at times to where I say things that I don't mean about the game, but you know, it's the one game that keeps pulling me back.
Oh my god, that sounds pretty similar to me and Destiny. It's crazy. I do the same. I watch a lot of build videos, YouTubers, live streams, other live streams. I do a lot of studying, and then I do look back on my failures. Obviously I record a lot of gameplay for content
Yeah.
creation, and so I look back on when I'm doing like PvP and stuff, especially like what could I have done different. So I had an experience. This was a few months back, and this is what kind of pushed me to play a little more PvP and do the comp stuff. I was playing some Trials of Osiris, which is like the end game PvP for Destiny, and
Yeah.
it's 3v3 elimination. And I I look back at the matches and I knew I wasn't playing good as a team member, a team player. I was pushing out outside of away from the team and doing some stupid stuff that I probably shouldn't have been doing, trying to think I'm better than I am in a in-game content. And so that really forced me to look at my play style and my character. I completely changed my. I was mainly uh, playing Titan and PvP, and I completely changed and went outside of my wheelhouse and went to Hunter.
Yeah.
And not even the Invis Hunter. I went completely over to Solar, and I'm loving the crap out of it. The movement, the just the just the movement, like the fluidness of it.
Yeah.
And I learned how to cover corners and aim where I should be aiming and being patient and not
Crosshair
rushing in.
placement, patience. Yeah.
Yes, yes. So that was a big moment. Yeah, a moment for me. I completely failed, and it was bad. I felt bad about myself. I don't think I even turned the game on for a couple of days after that. I completely
Damn.
just shut down. Like I embarrassed myself. So, but you learn, you
Yeah,
fail,
you
you
use that
grow.
as an opportunity to learn and how to get better, and now
Mhm.
you're starting to make content more around like the Crucible stuff occasionally, and that's cool that you're taking that experience and growing from it rather than, well, I'm never doing that again, you know.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I could have been like, yeah, I'm never touching this again. But I just something about the gameplay, the gunplay, and the challenge keeps it keeps bringing you back to Apex. It keeps bringing you back to Destiny. It's that just that gameplay and that
Yeah.
movement. So
Well, perfect, sir. I appreciate you being on. Do you have any final questions or thoughts or anything that you want to say for anybody who may be listening?
um, I would have to say, just as a final thought, it doesn't have to even be related to Destiny or Call of Duty or Apex or whatever. Go try a new game. I on a whim, I went out and did the Diablo beta, and I enjoyed the crap out of it. I had played a little bit of Diablo before that, as I stated previously, but I just it was so fun. Like I'm looking forward to it. I think it's coming out in June.
Yeah,
And I'm
June
jo- and
6th, I think.
I'm jonesing for it right now. So
Yeah.
but just go try new games. Go try to meet new people. Don't put yourself in one area. Don't be just a Destiny PvE player. Don't be just a Call of Duty. I play the campaign solo, or I jump into a couple, um, quick play matches or whatever. Just go challenge yourself. If you fail, figure out what you did wrong and do better.
Yeah.
And content creating, same. Don't be afraid to try new things. You're gonna probably fail here and there. You're probably gonna get people to, even people saying like toxic stuff. I mean, there's toxic people, like we said. You're gonna get people commenting, and you're like, what the hell, you know?
Yeah, you're going to
No
have people
worries.
that comment, "You're terrible. Why are you even doing this?" But like, don't let
Hmm.
the opinion of some stranger on the internet dictate whether or not
It's one
you,
person. It's
right,
one person.
whether
Yeah.
you continue down the path of like something that you want to do or not.
Yeah. And if you start feeling like you're failing, or however you're feeling, just take a step back, look at what you're doing, and figure out how to adapt. I guess that's my biggest advice to either any games or content creation. Even though I'm new at it, I feel like that's somewhat of wise words. If I'm
Yeah, no,
yeah.
that it's great advice because, and part of the reason why I'm super glad that I'm doing this podcast now and the way that I'm doing it is because the people that I'm going to have on, for the majority of the time, at least starting out, are going to be people that are in the beginning of this process themselves. Like me, I've
Mhm.
been creating content on and off for years, but I still feel like a newbie and I'm not where I want to be yet. But one of the things that's beautiful about that, in my opinion, is the fact that people that watch or listen that may want to get into this, they don't feel like they're so far behind from the people that they're listening to.
Yeah. Well, that's
Right?
awesome
Like
that you're
it's
doing
so
that.
easy to look at, you know, um, a ninja and be like, well, I'm new to this. How am I ever going to catch up? Like, I can't do anything successful, or like, I can't make it in this industry because, like, he's so far ahead of me. Well, new people blow up every day,
Yeah.
and having other people at the similar level than you give you, in my opinion, and one of the things I'm really hoping for is gives you hope that you can do it too, and
Yeah.
that you can push, and that like this dream is obtainable. It's going to take a ridiculous amount of work and time, but everything worthwhile is. And just because you aren't where you want to be yet doesn't mean that it's not going to happen.
Exactly. Some of these guys have been doing this for years, and there's people that have been doing it for years that still only do it part time and have a full time job.
Right.
There's a couple Destiny guys. CB Gray is one of them that I can think of that just recently went full time content creator, and he's been doing this since Destiny 1. I mean,
Right.
it takes a while. I mean, it's a lot of work, like you said. It's just a lot of time you got to put into it, but it's worth it. It's totally worth it, and I'm digging every minute of it. I love the editing part of it. I love the creating, just recording the gameplay, breaking it down, figuring out what I'm gonna use, what clips I'm gonna use, what I'm gonna talk about, what kind of creator I want to be. Those are all things that
Yeah.
just keep me coming back to it.
Yeah. Wise words. Thank you so much for
Yeah,
being the very first guest. I appreciate having you on so much. We will definitely do this again.
cool, man. I appreciate it.
All right, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in to the very first episode. Don't give up on your dreams. Keep doing what it is that you want to do. Keep pushing. Even if nobody believes in you, you believe in you. Keep going. I will be posting the channel for Filthy in the comments, so make sure that you guys go show him some love for everything Destiny related. He's other games, absolutely great guy. You know that from listening to this. Make sure you guys show him all the support. All his socials will be linked below. I appreciate you guys being here. You're the best. You already knew that though, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye. Okay, that was amazing. Thank you so much.